It was the mid-70s. Martin Scorsese, a film director known for countless of classic movies, had just finished his new movie, Taxi Driver, considered one of the greatest films of all time. But he had a problem, you see. To release his film, he had to follow a set of guidelines set by the MPA, Motion Picture Association, who were about to give him an X rating, which was the rating worse than R, and meant he could not release his movie to theaters. If this happened, the film he worked years on would be ruined. So he thought the only logical solution was to shoot the executive, making him cut his film. This is a story about how one of the biggest Hollywood directors today, almost often executive over his movie. Let me explain. Before Scorsese was a director, he was a struggling filmmaker with a high temper, trying to make his new film, which the production was already going terribly, as actors had to take pay cuts to ensure the film could get completed on the short budget of $1.3 million, which I know sounds a lot, but was very little for a movie budget. But ultimately, the movie was made, though there was a problem. The final scenes of the movie featured a bloody and gory shootout with exploded fingers and stuff like that, which resulted in the executive giving it the X rating. Scorsese then went to the producers of the movie for advice, and they said to get an R rating by any means necessary, as they had dumped way too much money into the movie for it to get an X rating, even if it meant cutting the bloody scenes out. Scorsese was furious and refused to remove the violent scenes, so he invited Steven Spielberg, another director, to come and help him with the situation. He showed him the scene, and Spielberg was shocked at how amazing and brilliant the scene was, until he told him what happened.
And Marty said, okay, I showed it to you because the studio is telling me I have to cut it. He said, what? They're telling me we're going to get an X rating. I've got to cut the scene. Or I've got to cut all the blood out. I got to cut the fingers coming off when the gun goes off. I got to cut the overhead shot with all the gore and all the long camera that goes all the way to where you took the roof off and shot straight down.
Spielberg and a couple others stayed with Scorsese, who got drunk the entire night with a pistol on his lap, trying to persuade him not to any executives at the MPA.
And his purpose was, in the morning, he was going to shoot the executive at Columbia for making him cut his masterpiece.
But he got an idea. He realized that he could change saturation of the color, turning the bright red into a more brown color. And that resulted in him getting his R rating and no one being murdered. Obviously, there are many different tellings of this story, as it has fallen into Hollywood legend. And Scorsese is a much different person now than his violent self from back in the day. If you enjoyed the hard work I put into this video, then feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel while you're down there.
Again, Mr. Scorsese, if none of this has happened, I apologize. I am simply relating legend. But I can honestly say, as an artist, if it's not true, I wish it were.